on today's episode of Wounds, Wisdom, and the Word.
Do the show. I'm
Okay, let's just talk. I'm sure it'll...
I'm just the SME here. The sufferer of mental exasperation.
Yes. Yes. So let me explain OCD to you. Like, I had to adjust the microphone 57 times.
That's
Like,
it. Yeah.
I used to do this thing where I had to, like, I put a plate in front of me, but it wasn't exactly right. And I'd bump it, you know. Anyway. A touch of the tism.
3 hours later.
3 hours later, yeah.
Wounds, wisdom, and the Word. Wounds, wisdom, and the Word. Now here are your hosts, Jamie and Doug.
All right. Welcome, everybody, to Wounds, Wisdom, and the Word. This is Doug Gregory, and I have Chandler Coffman with me today. Jamie couldn't be with us today filming. You know, the holidays are crazy nuts. And anyway, today is the day after Thanksgiving. Hope that you had a good Thanksgiving. Got plenty to be thankful for. But today I wanted to bring Chandler on the podcast because, first of all, Chandler's well runs deep. You know, that's the way I like to put it a lot of times. He's a practicing theologian. He's lots of different things. But you know, we talk a lot of times about the thing that is your strength can also be your weakness. And Chandler figured out on his own and, you know, been officially diagnosed with OCD, Obsessive-Compulsive Disorder. And when we were doing this podcast and talking about, we wanted to interview different people with different challenges, struggles. Chandler come to mind very quickly because I don't know what it's like to have OCD, and he does. And we were joking about moving the microphone 15 times before we got started. You know, like, this is what OCD is. But wanted to get him to talk about that and kind of share. First of all, share his experience, but also kind of maybe if somebody out there is struggling with that and they don't realize what it is. A lot of my goal kind of for this podcast is to bring to light people's mental health struggles and put a name and face on things so that you don't have to struggle alone by yourself.
You are not alone.
You are not alone. Don't listen to the devil. He a liar.
He is a liar. You are not alone. You are special, but you are not special in that regard. We are all people. We all have our own struggles. Many of us have common struggles.
Yeah.
It's always good to find someone that has that common struggle with you so that we can bear one another's burdens.
Right.
So
tell us about, you know, I mean, you probably didn't know at an early age that you were afflicted by this. Like, when did you figure it out?
No. Okay. I have actually thought about this, and I don't know.
Oh, okay.
It's a weird thing because it's not something for me that was an on-off thing. And I think that may have something to do with it.
Right.
Because I've always been extra inquisitive. Put it that way.
Extra. I like the wording.
I mean, I want to take things apart. I want to see how they work. But why? Yeah, and that's the question. You know, I have my young son will ask me questions. But why, Daddy? Why? And I was that child. I'm sure. I know I was in some regards. But in all seriousness, you know, I've always battled, you know, anxiousness, just general anxiousness.
Yeah.
Just always being on edge, always being high strung, wired. Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. And I think, of course, this is my personal story, but I don't know of a time specifically when it happened, but I do know that maybe after my college age years, when I was trying to make my own life, trying to make my own way, I was living in an apartment beside my parents' house, but I was, you know, alone at night. I'm by myself.
Right.
And of course, being by yourself is just the best thing ever, you know, when you're talking to the wall. But you know, it was one of those things like where I just started to ruminate, and that's one of those words we'll come back on later is rumination. I started to ruminate.
A great word picture to it.
Yeah. They don't. Yeah,
it's what cows do.
That's what cows do. But you know, I would chew on that for a long time, or chew on a thought.
Right.
And progressively, that became worse and worse and worse until it started to dominate my thinking.
Yeah. It's controlling your life.
Right. And it was one of those things where it's not like I said, it wasn't an on and off switch, but it was a culmination of many factors in my life that came, to a head.
Yeah. Why is this happening?
Right.
And I think what you're talking about is kind of what we try to get at. I've told this story before, I think, on the podcast. I've told other places, but a gentleman that we helped who had schizophrenia, turns out, sure, and we didn't know it. I suspected it that day that we finally got him somewhere to help him. But when the psych nurse come in and asked this man a question, one of the questions that she asked him was, do you see and hear things that other people don't see and hear? And he didn't miss a beat. Looked at her and he said, how am I supposed to know?
Right.
And I thought that is such a brilliant answer because, like you say, it wasn't a light switch. It wasn't like something happened to you and how you have OCD. Yeah. You just always had it, and it's just the way things always are.
That's correct.
Until, maybe you get in a conversation one day and you're like, wait a minute, you don't sit in bed and you can let a thought go. Like
that's
what?
Right. That's right. Yeah. It was kind of, people use the frog in the pot analogy, but if the frog has always been in the pot,
that's normal.
The frog does not know otherwise.
Right.
And even, people say, okay, you put the frog in the pot, you turn up the temperature, but it's one of those situations where the frog is born in the pot, he's raised in the pot, and then all of a sudden, over a course of, well, not all of a sudden, the opposite, over a course of 20 years,
right, that
temperature is increasingly, ramped up.
And he doesn't know any different.
Doesn't know any different.
Right.
And then someone comes along and says, or someone says, hey, just let it go. Just stop thinking about it. Stop worrying about it. And I'm like, what?
Shut your mouth.
What are you talking about? How do you mean stop? What do you mean stop worrying about it? You kidding me?
Oh, me. Yeah. I mean, because like I say, how are you supposed to know?
You don't. You don't until it gets bad enough. And, other people with mental or emotional struggles or even, different addictions, life-controlling issues will have this same kind of idea is that they only recognized that there was a problem when it started affecting their life or their family relationships or whatever it was. And then they kind of come to this fruition of, so there is something wrong here.
Yeah.
Maybe there is an issue that I need to address.
Right.
And that's the first kind of hint you get at, something going on.
So you're college age, living kind of at home, but kind of not at home. You're in a separate apartment on the same property.
Yeah.
And you figure out that this thing is crippling you. So what's?
Well, I'll tell you what actually triggered it. Well, it was, I shouldn't say triggered. One of the factors that ramped it up. So I'm on my own, by myself, and I won't get into details because it's irrelevant. But I had a medical situation, and I did the worst thing that anyone could ever do with my condition. I looked online.
I was like, so you Googled it?
I Googled it. I WebMD'd it or whatever it was at the time. I Googled it, and of course, you get the worst examples in the world. And for someone who's already prone to being on edge, prone to extreme thinking, or even has that slight tendency, hey, look, I'm already on my own. I've got nobody to talk to. I've got no real social group. I'd come back from college, but I really hadn't reintegrated into my friend group.
Yeah.
Or the church group. So I'm back home. I'm kind of by myself. I'm isolated. And all this, again, I get sick, and all of a sudden this is ramping.
Yeah.
This is taking
Snowballing.
off. Right. The frog is, the water temperature of the frog, it's really starting to increase.
It's hot in here.
And the frog's like, it's getting hot, but I guess it's okay. And so that's where it really takes off. And then, of course, we can get into how OCD actually works upon the mind, but that was the first of the obsessions,
right?
That then begins to mutate into other obsessions as the condition progresses.
So at some point, like, do you raise the flag and say something right, or does somebody notice a pattern?
I've thought about that. I think even though I was the frog in the pot, I could feel my own anxiety, and I knew I didn't want to be anxious.
Right.
I don't want to worry. I don't want to be like this.
Yeah.
But yet, I was trapped in my own head. I don't know how do I get out of this? How do I escape
Right.
from this situation that I'm in? Is this the right thing? Is this how most people live their lives?
Right.
Is this normal for me? And of course, with OCD, with OCD, well, we may have to get into a formal definition.
Well, I was supposed to say, we probably would be a good time to jump into,
Yeah, and
what it is, how it kind of operates.
And I'm not a clinician, so you're going to have to take this with a grain of salt. This is just my understanding as someone who lives with the condition. It is basically a mental disorder where the mind latches on to certain thoughts that become present in the mind. The mind obsesses over the nature of those thoughts and the content of those thoughts. And then typically there are compulsive acts which are used as attempts to self-soothe due to the obsessions, which most of the time, well, actually all of the time, those compulsions do not really rectify the situation. They only reinforce the obsessions.
Right.
So then once you get into the circle, you're stuck in the circle.
Yeah. I used to work with a guy that was accountant, was very good at what he did, but very high pressure job. And he literally would wear the side of his head out. Like when I say wear, he would twirl his hair in the corner of his scalp, but that side was like bald.
Yeah.
Because he would, it was down to the last 3 hairs, and he had wore the rest of them.
Yeah. And what I want to get on the table now is the most important thing that I think anyone could know about OCD.
Okay.
You can clip it.
Okay.
OCD is not wanting to have things neat and straight.
Okay.
That is not OCD. People say, I'm so OCD because I have to straighten my paper just right with my pen. You're so OCD. You're so OCD. That's not OCD. OCD is the thought. Okay, let's just use this as an example. Okay. Everyone has different themes. You call them themes in the OCD world.
Caution. The next several minutes could be triggering for individuals with OCD.
It could be, a theme can be violence or sexuality or religious scrupulosity. It can be anything. You have themes. Health is a theme. There's different themes. And typically your obsessions will fall under a theme. So let's say I have a violent theme, and I have this thought in my head that says, if I don't straighten this clipboard perfectly right in front of me, someone is going to come through that door and kill me.
Yeah.
And it's not like, oh, that's a silly thought. It's you have that thought and you say, okay, well, if I straighten this, I can make the thought go away. I can make that thought go away. Let me get it straight. It's not perfect. I've got to get this perfect. Or it's just, this is going to happen if I don't get this thing straight right now, and I get it straight enough temporarily to soothe me,
Right.
and then 5 seconds later, 10 seconds later,
Something else.
the same thought.
Yeah.
That thought comes out. Is that really straight? Is that straight enough?
Well,
What's going to happen if I don't let it? I got to get straight again. And it's this constant.
Well, and I think what you were trying to get at earlier with, I just want to be neat is not OCD.
No.
Is there's a real, and from the conversations that I've had with you over the years, I really keyed in on the fact that how much the unwantedness of some of these thoughts are. Yeah. And I'm not trying to be deep or dark or triggering, but, and I think at times I've had a little bit of this where you walk by and see the knife. It's just a kitchen knife in a block. But then, if you have that violent theme, then all of a sudden, things that you don't,
That's right.
you don't want, that you don't,
That's correct.
horrendous things.
Yeah. I mean,
But it comes.
right. And what most sufferers of OCD have to learn is that these thoughts are not foreign to man.
Right.
People have thoughts they don't like.
Right. 2 Corinthians 10:5.
Exactly. We live in a fallen world. We're not perfect. It happens, all right? People have thoughts they don't like. The difference between someone with OCD and someone without OCD is that someone with OCD can't let those go. And not for a lack of trying.
Right.
But through great mental effort, they try to force them out, which doesn't actually work. And if you can't let things go.
There's actually something there.
Yes.
Because, correct me if I'm wrong, but this is something where, medication, it's not a cure, but it is a tool, allows you to help manage much better than without.
Powerful tool. Powerful tool. I'm definitely pro medication. Now, whether you want to do that short term or long term is between you and your physician. Mm-hmm. But it is definitely a tool in the toolbox that you can use to help your mind ease its grasp off of things to the point where you have a little more control, if you will. Yeah, it's the idea with OCD is that when you grab onto a thought, a negative thought, it's this tight-fisted grasp that you can't seem to let it go. You can't get it out of your mind.
Right.
And when I say get it out of your mind, imagine thinking the worst thing you have ever thought in your entire life, over and over, every single day, all day long, for months on end. Yeah. Here's a quote I wrote down in my book. It's just my little daily book that I carry with me. This is Martin Luther, not to be confused with Martin Luther King Jr. This is Martin Luther, the Protestant reformer.
95 Thesis.
Yep, 1500s. Okay, 1517. Yeah, I think so. Martin Luther wrote this. This is about a period of his life roughly between 1520 and 1530. This is him, retroactively looking upon this period. And he's talking about his struggles with scrupulosity, which means it's religious in nature regarding religious perfection. Have I done enough to get in heaven? Have I done this? Have I done that? Am I a good enough person?
Right.
Whatever. He says, he's talking about his thoughts. They were so great and so much like hell that no tongue could adequately express them. No pen could describe them. And one who had not experienced them himself could not believe them. So much like hell that no tongue could adequately express them. That's it.
Yeah. I wrote a poem recently about, we were at Harvest Fest, and anyway, saw something that triggered me. And, kind of the idea of the poem is, this is my life now. And there's a line in there about, I can't remember exactly how it starts, but it's like having, I could sit in the middle of a group of people and nobody has any idea what's going on. It's like having your own personal hell bought and paid for and scot-free,
That's right.
And, there is a lot of this stuff where you can't see it on the outside. But that don't mean.
No, that's right.
Because, with the ADHD thing, I know me and you have kind of went back and forth, and I can, while not having dealt with what you've dealt with to the same probably level or, even at all, but I can take a pill and 45 minutes later, everything in my life is easier to start. Mm-hmm. Like a lot of times with me, like getting started on something just seems like, oh my gosh, it's this big, huge, impossible task. Sure. It's going to take so many things, and I don't know how to do this step of it, and The first time I ever took an ADHD pill, I'll never forget, and I'm sitting there, looking at my emails, and one of the emails that had been in my inbox for months was I needed to pay $50 or whatever for the street lights. Like there's a group fund for the light bill for the street lights. Sure. And I'm like, oh yeah, I need to do that. And I just pull it up.
Let's do it.
And I did it, and I'm like, I click finish, and I'm like, I just did that.
Yeah.
And I literally walk back in here, and I look at the net. I says, "Is this how people live? Like, are you serious?"
I know.
Because everything for me was just such to ramp up to even get started. And once I got rolling, I still fight some of that. Like, you have drugged me to the gym, and especially when we very first started going, I just grumpy mood and hateful and ill, and I didn't want to go, and I don't want to go to the gym, and just the thought of it was just horrendous.
Yeah.
And then you get there and it's not that bad. I get to go hang out with my friend, and sometimes you do cool stuff, and sometimes I call you a Hebrew slave driver, and but the thought of it is worse than the thing.
Yeah, it is. It is.
And that's all in between my ears.
And two things here. One is that OCD, you mentioned you may have not experienced what I experienced. OCD is not, of course, I have not formally looked at the DSM-5 quite a while, but
yeah,
I think it's in there. But a lot, from what I remember, and Jamie she can probably correct this. From what I remember, it is an overlapping condition with many other things.
Yeah.
Some people can have generalized anxiety disorder and OCD because those things very much dovetail.
Right.
Right. But someone else can have anxiety and ADHD.
Right.
And those things dovetail because if it's a continuum, or those things if there's a Venn diagram there. Right. Things can interplay.
Yeah. Well, on the ADHD side, there's a lot of science now that says it's always coexisting with something else. And
right.
I can see that.
That's right. And I've already lost my train of thought about the second thing you said, but
here we are, folks.
That's right. but with OCD, it's funny because I hear your side, and well, it's not funny, but it's interesting. It's interesting because I hear your side, and I experience that from a different point of view. Because instead of being able to focus, I can't unfocus.
Right.
It's I have a thought about I love to study theology and philosophical theology to be specific, but I'll start thinking about philosophy of mind or whatever the specific topic I want to think about is, and I'm in, and I'm not going to stop researching for hours and hours and hours and days, weeks. It balloons,
right?
And oftentimes, especially when I was struggling with the disorder most intently, because I am in a recovery state now. I'm in a better place.
Yes.
When I wasn't in a better place, it's affecting my job, it's affecting my home life, it's affecting whatever it is. I mean,
right.
Everything. Because I can't get out.
Right.
I'm stuck. I cannot think about anything else.
Yeah.
Other than that thing.
Right.
Which is good if it's something valuable that you're trying.
Well, I've said a lot of times this kind of stuff is like having a bull on a dog collar. Okay, so when you need to plow the field, when you need to pull something out of the ditch, right. Come here, bull, and like you hook it to it, and it's like,
That's right.
And it's great. And then you want to bring the bull home and like, hey, let's just sit down and chill out, and and it's like, no.
Yep, that's right.
It's tearing the house up. Like, stop it.
Well, and the thing is, if you think about this from a biological standpoint, your brain is always trying to actively interpret the world.
Yes.
Okay. And what you have sensory data coming in via your sense organs. Your brain is trying to accurately predict what's going to happen next.
Yep.
Okay, all this is going on. So it's natural for your brain to have, thoughts about things that might happen because you're trying to predict the future every time. I'm trying to predict what you're going to say next. I'm trying to predict, everything around me. So from a natural point of view, our mind is going to have thoughts. Okay, so that's one thing. And the second thing is with life in general, there are times when we need to focus. We need to focus on one task.
Yeah. It needs our attention.
When I'm hunting the animal to feed my family, I don't want to worry about the bird that's over here on my left-hand side. I want to focus on the deer. Like that's...
Be very, very quiet. I'm hunting rabbit.
That's right. I have to focus on that specific thing.
Yes.
Ian McGilchrist talks about this a lot in his book. He's a psychologist, and he talks about the hemispheres of the brain and how we attend to the world. And it's a fantastic read. It's called The Matter with Things. But it's this idea that when a predator animal is trying to catch a prey animal, anything like that, the brain is trying to lock onto one thing.
Yeah.
Don't lose focus. If you lose focus, you starve, you die.
Right.
Don't lose focus.
Yeah.
So it's interesting that this disorder has taken a very good thing.
Oh yeah. And just hijacked it.
And so it's taken these two very good things. This locking in and this trying to predict the future. And then it becomes the doubter's disease. It becomes the, well, what if?
Yeah.
Well, what if?
It's like what trauma does. Trauma takes this good part of this good system that God put in your brain, and it hangs it up and jams it up, and then, and then you become a heat-seeking missile for everything that isn't even anything.
That's right. That's right. So, I mean, it's not, again, I think sometimes a lot of people will take OCD or ADHD and they'll do one of two things. One, they'll say it's a superpower.
Yeah.
Right?
False.
It's awful.
Horrendous.
But on the other hand, it's
there is times when
you need it. Like it's it's not a superpower, but it's not the worst thing ever to have some focus.
Yeah.
It's just that in everything, balance, and everything, get out of the tension. There's that give and take, and when you go towards the extreme, it's always going to be bad.
Well, I was watching a thing the other day. I'm a big airplane guy. Chandler is an armament guy, tanks and stuff. And Kelly Johnson, one of the greatest aircraft designers ever. When the Germans come out with the Messerschmitt 262, which was the first jet fighter,
Correct.
Americans were like, need a jet fighter yesterday.
Right.
And they, the Air Forces can't do it. And they said, well, let's go ask Kelly. And they go sit down across the table with Kelly Johnson, and Kelly's like, I can do it. All right, how long? How many years? And he scribbling around. He looks up and he says, 180 days. And they're like, what? You can't do it in 180 days. He said, well, 180 days, but no oversight, no interference.
Yeah.
I picked the team. And that project there was no other room in the factory, so they rented a circus tent and put it out in the back lot. That became the Skunk Works.
Yeah.
From nothing to a flying airplane in 143 days.
That's right.
Tell me that guy didn't have a little hyper focus.
That's right.
Locked in. Yeah, I've never done one.
Yeah, he had Kenny Loggins in his head, but long before Kenny Loggins was around. He had Highway to the Danger Zone to playing back in here.
I mean, it was just kind of like
locked in.
Everybody's like 180 days. He's like, yeah, 180 days, and he did 143.
It's fantastic.
Yeah.
Sorry, there's those times when you need to be able to think about something, right?
Yep.
Yeah, that's right. It's just that you have the thought, you have the task, you deal with it, you move on.
So one of the things you said a minute ago, I want to key back in on.
Please.
Because probably helpful. Somebody sitting here saying, yeah, me too. You said that, currently I'm in a recovered state, and there was time that I wasn't. So let's talk about the transition.
Sure.
From one to the other. I know a little bit of that story already, but, and I know that everybody's not going to follow the exact same path, but, you have your experience set of one.
Yep.
And I know there's some tools that you use that
That's
probably other people could avail themselves of.
That's great. there's a lot of resources out there. Personally, finding the right therapist
Okay.
was just huge. Now, I was lucky enough to go. Now, I don't. This is not an endorsement of the program. I don't know whether they're good or bad now. I don't know. When I was in the program,
Yeah.
I got connected with a therapist that was good. The program's called NOCD, no CD. Okay. And again, it's all from what I know. All that no CD is a online available service that connects you to therapists who have experience in OCD counseling. I was lucky enough to get paired with someone that I really,
Hit it off with.
Yeah, I jived with them. It was great.
Yeah.
And that in combination with finding, and I went through 3 medications, one that worked for me. Those 2 things in conjunction really helped me. And of course, this is all a God thing. I know because I just other things. But I do believe that because of those decisions that I made to go get help there, to go, towards medication over here, that I was able to really challenge my ways of thinking head on.
Yeah.
And you have, and we can get into this too, what therapy looks like for OCD, but you got to challenge your thoughts head on without challenging your thoughts head on.
Yeah, I was about to ask that. Like, there's different kinds of therapies.
That's correct.
EFT for couples. There's CBT, which is kind of like act your way into a new form of thinking.
Correct. Cognitive behavioral therapy.
Yeah.
Now, what OCD will specialize on is what's called exposure response prevention.
Okay.
So the idea is, let's take an example. Let's use your example earlier about the knife.
Kitchen knife.
So, and again, you may want to put a disclaimer at the beginning of this. Like, I don't want anyone to watch this and
Get triggered.
But I mean,
We got to talk about it.
as an OCD. Yeah, right. You have to talk about it. 1 and 2. Part of OCD is not avoiding the triggers. You can't do that.
You can't live in a bubble.
You can't. Well, even differently, you don't avoid the triggers. You go to the triggers. That's the difference. So, let me make this clear. So, let's say you have the kitchen knife, and let's say you have a thought that comes through your mind that, hey, I could take this kitchen knife and I could stab my wife right now.
Which you totally wouldn't want to do.
No. Right, that'd be a horrible thing.
But it flashes.
But you have that. And then you say, why would I have that thought? Why did I just have that thought? Does that mean I'm a bad person?
Right.
Does that mean I'm really going to do that?
Welcome to the rabbit hole.
What does that mean? What does that mean? Let me look it up on my phone. What does it mean when you have this thought? It says I'm okay, but that can't be right, because a person who's okay wouldn't have this thought. Right. Why did I have this thought?
So you keep digging till you find something.
You keep digging, and then you see one story about how a guy stabbed somebody with a knife, and you're like, that's me. I'm going to be that person. It's just constant.
Right.
So part of OCD is leaning into the discomfort. So let's say someone who is suffering from OCD would take the kitchen knives out of the house. They wouldn't have kitchen knives. You walk in the house, there's not a single knife in the house. Or they've got to touch the knife and maybe put it in a safe, or maybe there's different compulsions. Whatever it is to make them feel comfortable, they're doing these compulsions. Well, to expose yourself to discomfort, and this is all something you work with your counselor on. Your counselor is going to set up a proper ERP plan for you.
Right.
Because there are situations like, let's say, for instance,
Should be dangerous.
It could be dangerous, right?
Yeah.
So you don't want to put people in a situation, or you don't want to put yourself in that situation because maybe you are having some self-harm thoughts, So it's very important to work with your counselor there, or a counselor, period, to that way they can structure a program that doesn't, put you in a spotlight.
But what you're talking about is basically, and I'm going to use a term here, and please don't misunderstand what I'm saying.
Go ahead.
Some of this you've got to poke the bear. What my experience with trauma therapy and brain spotting is, you find the thing that triggers, and instead of like you spent your life avoiding the trigger.
Yes.
Which doesn't work.
That's right.
So then you kind of like charge into it head on.
That's right.
With the help of a trained professional.
That's right.
But then, and then you ride that out.
That's correct.
And it's not as sensitive the next time.
Right, because the whole thing about OCD specifically is it kicks in your fight or flight. Mm-hmm. It ramps up that anxiety, and when your body becomes conditioned to feel that anxiety, okay, so you have to put yourself in that anxious situation with your theme, with your trigger, whatever it is, and you have to learn to be uncomfortable, live in the ambiguity, okay. I'm gonna let's say I'm gonna use a different one. I'm gonna use one that's a little bit less
provocative.
Yeah, you're right. I'm gonna use one that's a little bit easier to work with here. Let's say that your theme is
like germs and health.
Okay, yeah. Okay, let's just use that one because everyone knows about. Everybody conflates OCD and hand washing. So let's say you think that by going to the doctor's office, you are going to inadvertently get coughed on, and you're going to catch tuberculosis, and then you're going to die.
Black net and everything.
Right. So, do most people that go to the doctor's office get sick? No. Do most people get coughed on? No. Do most people get tuberculosis? Tuberculosis is almost
pretty well controlled,
non-existent, right? So
there are a few cases.
and then if you got tuberculosis, would you even die? Maybe not. So there's so many, I'll show you a book here in a few minutes, but it's a 1 in 1,000, 1 in 1,000, and it eventually gets to be 1 in like 10 million chance for this to actually happen.
You have to multiply all them together.
Right. So this idea it's a completely outlandish thing, right. But because of this, now you have a fear of going to doctors or going to this, or you have a fear of any kind of germ whatsoever, because if you get a germ, that means you have to go to the hospital, which means you're going to get coughed on, which means you're going to get tuberculosis, which means you're going to die.
Yeah.
It's as possible. So what you would do in this situation is maybe your therapist tells you, go put your hand on a toilet and don't wash your hands.
Yeah.
Go lick your hand and don't wash it.
Yeah.
Whatever that, and the other way too. It's not the hospital. It's not the tuberculosis. It's not the death. It's not the.
But it's triggering the same thing.
Exactly, because when you first do that, when you first lick your hand, when you first touch that toilet, you think, I'm dead.
Right.
I am going to die.
Right.
There's no logic there, but it's not about logic. It's an illogical.
It's not a logical problem.
No. So you lick it, and you have to sit there, and you have to sit with that tension.
Yeah.
I gotta have to be uncomfortable, and then over time, if you avoid the compulsions, I'm gonna wash my hands right now. I'm gonna look it up on the internet.
Yeah.
I'm gonna whatever it is, my compulsion. If I avoid the compulsion, you sit with that. Eventually, you retrain your brain to say, I didn't die.
Yeah.
I didn't have to go to the hospital. I didn't get coughed on.
Yeah.
And again, this takes a long time, but eventually you get to the point where you're like, I'm okay. I can deal with this.
And it probably doesn't ever completely take it away,
No.
but it's probably more like preparing you to fight a better battle against yourself.
Yeah.
If I had to imagine.
Yeah, it's just
Because trauma therapy has not taken away me ever getting anxious or ever having a panic attack or anything, you know, but it's just like, okay, here we go.
right. And the thing is, now that you've worked through some of the issues you've had, you're in a better place when you do have that anxiety attack, when you do have that whatever. And same for me, you know, when I have that negative or scary or whatever, that specific intrusive thought, I stop and I sit with it. I sit with it and let it sit there. And I'm like, maybe. Would I do X action? Maybe. Maybe not. I don't know.
Well, and, you know, I kind of mentioned earlier, 2 Corinthians 10:5 talks about bringing every thought in captivity.
Yeah.
You know, to Christ, basically. And, you know, you can't help the thought firing.
Right.
But what you do with it after that.
Right.
You know, and it almost sounds like what you're talking about is normally you would fight against it and cause all the rumination and cause all the, you know, all this
That's
stuff,
correct.
you know, and almost here, the taking it captive is to just be like,
Yeah.
I'm not playing.
That's exactly right. And the
I'm
thing,
not game.
I really had to struggle with that passage. Really had to struggle with that passage.
Because what does war look like?
Right.
Or what's taking captive look like?
Right. And I had to struggle with that. I'm like, okay, you're telling me that I have to fight against these thoughts, but fighting against the thoughts is actually what's
Trapping me in the thoughts.
exactly. So I had to really wrestle with that passage. I had to wrestle with that passage.
Well,
And
but
then,
what did Jesus do? How did Jesus fight?
that's right. And then I had to
He
wrestle
didn't
with
say nothing.
not a word, except if you're a Pharisee,
Yeah.
he will fight you.
If my kingdom were of this world, my disciples would fight.
That's right. Yeah. Unless you're a Pharisee and he's going to call you a snake. All right. So I had to wrestle with that passage, and then I had to wrestle with Philippians, where you know that he will grant us with the peace that passes understanding. And I'm like, okay, wait a minute.
Yeah. Don't be anxious in anything.
How do you not be anxious? Like I'm praying and I'm not getting the not anxiousness.
The guy that says don't be anxious for anything also in 2 Corinthians 27-28, read them both. They're good for you. You know, beyond that, my daily anxiety pressures me in all the churches, you know, and I think a lot of people focus the wrong place on Philippians 4:6. You know, he uses the word supplication. That's not a word we use today. Hey, what are you doing, Chandler? What you been doing today? I've been supplicating.
Been supplicating.
You know, but that has a really the idea of begging God over a certain felt need for yourself.
Sure.
And what Paul, when you put don't be anxious and supplicate together, what Paul says is when you get this way, go pour it out.
Yeah.
Go pour it out on him.
That's right.
It's not that you're wrong for feeling that way.
That's right.
Don't let it sit. Don't let it fester.
That's right.
When you get that way, because Paul knows what it's like to feel that way. You know, Philippians. Everybody wants to talk about Philippians 4:13. Philippians 4:12 is better than Philippians 4:13. Not that one scripture is better than another, but you know, the end of Philippians 12 says, "I have learned the secret."
Yeah.
The secret of what, Paul? How to have a lot and how to have a little.
Yep.
Because when I have a lot, I'm thankful to God that I have a lot. And when I have a little, I'm still thankful to God because, you know,
Yep.
I'm thankful to God either way.
That's
and that
right.
allows me to have a lot or a little and not be overwhelmed either way.
That's right. And talking about taking every thought captive, something I had to learn is that, you know, if you apply that in a warfare analogy, taking captives, most of the time they don't kill the captives.
Yeah.
You might throw them in jail. You might hold them You know, there's no necessitating killing of the thought.
Right.
Just because you take a thought captive doesn't mean you're trying to kill it. It means that you're I acknowledge
stopping its effectiveness against you.
Yes, that's right. And that was something I realized, and that's what ERP is basically, is acknowledging the thought is there. And mine, you know, this was my mental model that I used. My mental model was me in a car driving is me progressing through life. That's what that analogy was. I'm driving, here's my path. I imagined the intrusive thought as a person in the passenger seat right here just screaming at me, you know, or even trying to grab the steering wheel. And eventually I had to come up with this thing is like, okay, I acknowledge you're there. I hear you. And you know what? You can stay as long as you want. I'm not going to fight you. I'm just going to let you talk.
Well, I mean,
you stay here as long as you need to.
Yeah.
And it's that sitting in the uncomfortableness, sitting in the
and it goes, I don't care.
Right.
It'll leave.
And you know what? It's like it's like I don't know if it's a good analogy or a bad analogy, but you know, sometimes as a parent, like this is probably, I don't know if this is the right thing to do or wrong thing to do, but sometimes as a parent, that you know, you have to let your kids cry it out.
Oh yeah.
And eventually, at first when they're crying, it's annoying. It's loud.
It's horrible.
It's the worst thing ever. But eventually they cry and they're like, okay. It's that same mentality. I lean into that thought. That thought's horrible. I hate it. It annoys me. It scares me. It makes me sick. But over time, that thought has less and less power because it wants me to react.
Well, why did Jesus go to the garden? Why did Jesus take three guys with him who were about to leave him, curse him even? And why did he go beg God to do something that he knew God wouldn't do? You know, he had to get it out.
Yeah.
I mean, he knew. He had to know.
Yeah.
But it wasn't about, hey, actually, I don't want to go through. I mean, I'm sure he didn't want to go through with it.
Right.
You don't sweat drops of blood for no reason.
Right. And you know, Jesus, qua God, wants to do, you know, has this as his goal. He's going to complete his goal. But Jesus, qua man, you know, because he is elevating human nature. So there's this distinction between.
He's on fire.
There's a distinction between, you know, the human nature and the divine nature in one person, and so that's a very interesting situation. And you know, just as much as it is Jesus pouring himself out, you know, through emotion that he may be having, what is that showing his disciples?
It's okay.
It's okay. It is okay to talk to God in times of struggle.
Yeah. And I mean, I was thinking about that when you were talking about, you know, taking captive, and, you know, like he's, if ever there has been a moment in time where somebody is setting and embracing the uncomfortableness, it's the Garden of Gethsemane.
That's right.
You know,
that's right.
So, I mean, he didn't banish it away. He didn't, you know, get rid of it. He went and poured it out, and then he went and did it.
That's right. And you know, this is getting more theological, but you know, I've mentioned before in some of our discussions that the Bible is a rubber band. It's a slinky. It went one direction. It's coming right back that same direction. Okay, it's here and right back. So what happens? Whereas one man fails in a garden, one man succeeds in a garden.
Yeah.
One man turns from God, hides from God in the garden. So Adam hides because he's ashamed.
And he goes and pours it out.
He goes to God. when he is, when he feels the trouble.
Yep.
So it's the exact undoing of Eden.
Yeah.
Exact. So therefore, we have that as an example of when we have these struggles, run to God. Go to God. If we're supposed to follow that, example of Christ, we go towards God.
Yeah.
And, and sometimes, and again, sometimes that results in, of course, always through prayer, but sometimes that does result in medication, sometimes it results in therapy, sometimes that results in talking to friends about your issues.
Yeah.
But, coming full circle on what we started on, it's never do it alone.
Yeah.
It's the worst thing. Because especially with OCD, and I'm sure it's the same in the trauma world. I'm sure it's the same in so many different aspects. But you feel like you're the only one.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like you feel like you're the worst person ever. You feel it's the guilt, it's the shame. No one will understand me.
Mm-hmm.
No one can sympathize with me. No one's ever had this thought before. No one's ever, it's all these things.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the oldest battle tactic in the world is divide and conquer.
That's right.
And I'm alone is a lie spoken into your ears so that you will divide yourself, so that you can be conquered.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and like I say, it's an easy lie to believe because you don't know what everybody else.
No.
You don't know. I mean, I think about one of my religious pet peeves, I guess, if you will, is when people kind of put down Elijah.
Oh, yeah.
And, Elijah didn't have no faith. Elijah, blah, blah, Elijah was fried. You call down fire out of heaven, there is enough adrenaline coursing through your body. Yeah. Not to mention the fact you've been hiding 3 years. Not to mention the fact, just all this stuff. And what are you doing here, Elijah?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I alone left, and, and now they seek my life and just kill me. I'm no better than my fathers.
Yep.
I'm horrible. I'm alone. I'm all these things. And he keeps asking him, what are you doing here, Elijah? I'm horrible. I'm the only one left. I failed you, God. Just kill me now. And finally, after, he lets him sleep and he lets him eat and he, I think there's a lot to that scene there, come out and look at this. And he doesn't do it and come out and come out, come out, come out. And he finally comes out and this small, still voice that says, there's 7,000 more.
Mm-hmm.
Ah.
Yeah.
You're not alone.
That's right.
Now go do this, this, and this and get back to work.
That's right.
So that's such a powerful thing. And, that's kind of what I want to do with the podcast and a lot of different things that we do. And it's just trying to, let's say, validate the human experience. But if this can reach someone who, feels exactly the way that you described.
Sure.
Or, it just, and there's been so many, even with my journey, where last Wednesday night, a person was struggling with an issue because they were helping somebody else who was struggling with an issue, and I was able to say, yeah, I figured out that I had a similar issue, and she looked at me with horror in her face and said, I'm so sorry. And I didn't tell you that so that I didn't do that to hijack the scene.
Right.
I did that so that I can look her in the face and say, I can imagine what you're feeling.
Sure. That's right. That's right.
And it, for a split moment, she wasn't thinking about herself in the other situation.
That's right.
And I'm like, I'm not doing this to make you, I said, I'm just want you to understand that I can take a guess and be in the ballpark.
Yeah. That's right. And we know that God is not the author of evil, but if all things work together for his good, then God can make bread come from stones. He can make a good thing.
Well, he still brought about the Messiah through all the failures of Israel.
That's correct.
And I've...
So you can bring something good out of a situation that is horrible,
right,
for the benefit of others,
right,
in his kingdom.
This may be a redneck way of saying it, but You know, I've thought a lot of times you can't mess it up bad enough that God can't use it.
Right.
No, that's not a free pass to go mess it up.
That's correct.
But I'm saying that if you're trying and you're swinging and you're missing, you know, what do you think the Israelites did? They swung and they missed a bunch.
A bunch.
And God still brought the Messiah into the world.
That's right.
You know, the mankind was still saved. You know, the apostles, Acts chapter 1, and he's about to send into heaven and be like, hey, you going to bring David's kingdom back? Hello, is this thing on? You know,
That's right.
you know, it's not your business to know the times and the seasons that God,
That's right.
the Father, has fixed. You know?
Yeah, it's yeah. So, you know, God is going to do something good regardless.
I mean, the good may be that you can look at another human being and say, me too.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
I mean, I had a chance one time we work with a summer camp every year, and I met, I won't call his name, but I met 8-year-old version of me.
Yeah.
Including recent family death, and I'm listening to this kid and I'm thinking, I've heard all this before, because that was me.
Yeah.
And I probably talked to this kid 2.5 hours over the couple days at camp, and I remember, I think after the first round of talking to him, and I remember going, kind of getting off by myself and thinking, if I can help that kid, everything that I went through as a kid, it's worth it for something.
That's right.
I mean,
That's right.
you know.
No, that's right. And you know, I've had my own struggles with OCD, which has led into, you know, constant thoughts about, you know, just hyperfixation on everything. You know, even into things like, you know, is God real? Did Jesus rise from the grave? How do I deal with this passage of the Bible that's a hard passage of the Bible? How do I deal with this? What about, you know, how can I prove that there's a soul? Or how can I prove that there's more than just so all these things, and now I'm blessed enough to be in the position where, you know, at church I can, if people have questions, hey, how do we deal with the problem of evil, the philosophical problem of evil? How could a good God allow bad things to happen?
Yeah.
And even though I don't have all the resources of a professional philosopher, I can say, look,
Let me tell you a few things.
I can point you in the right direction.
Yeah.
I have resources because I've been there.
Yeah.
I've struggled with that. I mean, I've anguished over that. I've cried over that. You know, I have fought these battles.
Well, that's why I said at the very, very beginning that Chandler's well runs deep, and that's not I don't say that lightly.
I dug a deep well. Put it that way.
Well, that's why it's deep.
OCD dug a deep well.
Right. But I mean, what you just said there is that I can use that well to help other people.
That's correct.
So
that's correct. And that's a blessing. You know, Paul in many ways used his sufferings as teaching tools. Mm-hmm. You know, he's saying, "Oh yeah, you think these Judaizers are good?
Some are teaching Christ so that my chains will be further."
That's
but,
right.
You know, long as Christ's being preached, I don't care.
That's right. And Paul's like, "You want to see my back?
Yeah.
You want to see where I've been beaten for Christ?"
And you can tell in 2 Corinthians 11, he doesn't really want to do this.
Yeah.
But, you know, these super apostles that claim to be better. And he said, all right, you want to brag? We'll brag.
Right. And he doesn't want to do that. But the point is that if that situation arises, he's been there.
Yeah.
He's done that. He's like, hey, look, I was trained by Gamaliel.
Yeah.
I sat at his feet. I was on the way to stardom. Mm-hmm. He says, oh, you think they're Jewish? I am from the tribe.
I'm a better one.
That's right. Yeah, you know, yeah, that's right. So he'd been there, so he was able to tell the story.
I mean, I don't know exactly what Paul's voice sounds like, but every time I read through that, I can hear this man going faster and faster and faster. You know, I'm a better one, and this and that, and danger robbers, danger my brothers, danger to the wilderness, danger to the cities, danger to yeah, you know.
He's a beatboxer.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean he's pouring himself out because he's saying, I've been there.
Yeah.
I've been there.
Yeah.
And let me tell you my story.
Yeah. and I have found the secret.
That's right.
Discovered the secret.
That's right. You know, you always say, you know, you get Peter, who's the guy who can't stop but putting his foot in his mouth, leads the first sermon, you know, the first gospel sermon at Pentecost. It's why he'd probably learned a few things.
Yeah. Well, I mean, boldness is I think more and more I think about your strength is also your weakness. Mm-hmm. You know, the thing that made him stand up and go, yeah, is also the thing that, you know, at times, you know, the mountain of transfiguration, you know, like, let's build 3 tabernacles. Peter, no. Oh, my bad.
Yeah, that's right.
You know, and you get the idea they didn't know what to say, so they had to say something.
Peter, just don't talk. Just stop talking. Don't cut anybody's ears off. Just stop. Can you sit down for 2 minutes?
And bless his heart, you know, he looks at Jesus and says, I'm ready to die. I'm ready to die, right. You know, going even to my death with you.
Yeah.
And you know what? I don't think he's lying, because it would have been easier to stand beside Jesus' side. Yeah. And, you know, fight to the death.
That's right.
Than it would be to stand there alone.
Yeah, right.
And, you know, do what he's going to have to do.
That's right. That's
know.
right. It's powerful.
He didn't understand the scale of what was coming. You know, I'll go with you anywhere.
Right.
You know, I'll ride and die with you. That's okay, right. But what will you do by yourself?
That's right.
Well, I want to be with you.
That's right.
Well, I'm not always going to be here, but I want to be with you.
Right. Yeah. That's the beautiful story of the gospel, is that in all these situations you get men and women who have these great strengths, these amazing victories, but these horrible defeats, these horrible weaknesses, and it's just this example over and over about how you see the good in humanity, but yet the fallenness, and then you reach the pinnacle in Jesus, and you get the greatness with no weakness.
Yeah. Well, Chris Donovan talks a lot of times about Dorcas. You know, it's Acts 19, maybe, whatever it is. But he's like, you imagine being so good in your ministry, they won't let you die. They stand around with that pair of pants. You know, Dorcas made me this pair of pants. You got to bring her back.
That's right. That's right.
I was in glory. What y'all doing? Oh, we need some more pants.
Oh, don't do that.
Be like, you so good, they won't let you die.
That's right. That's right.
All right. Well, I mean, we've been here for a little over an hour.
Before we stop, I do want to give a shout out to this book. This is one of the first books I got. Hold
it up to the camera.
Yeah, we'll in a second. I got this before I went to counseling, before I went to therapy, but it's really good. It helped me. Mm-hmm. It helped prepare me for counseling, but that way, because it gave me more validation, even though validation may not have been the thing I needed, but it gave me some information about what goes on in the mind.
Okay.
This is a powerful book that I would recommend to anyone who knows someone in their family or friends that has OCD. Yeah. It's called The Imp of the Mind.
Okay.
The Imp of the Mind. The imp is like a little creature that plays tricks and does horrible things, but the imp...
a gremlin.
Yeah, basically, and it references a Edgar Allan Poe poem, I believe. It's by Lee Baer, Leebaer, Lee Baer. He's a PhD. It's fantastic. You can buy it anywhere. I'm assuming it's not too old. I mean, this print here is from maybe 2001. Yeah, 2001. So, I mean, 25 years old or so. Yeah. But it's fantastic. It has a lot in there about the OCD and how people with OCD think. Yeah. Kind of walks you through what is a theme? Yeah. What do people experience? Okay. What is it? What can medications do? Right. It gives you a basic plan of action. I do not recommend anyone with OCD grabbing this at the expense of therapy.
Yeah.
Do not use this as a self-help book.
Okay.
Please find someone you trust.
Yeah.
Find someone who can help you. Whether you go medication, no medication, please get therapy.
Yeah.
Please get help. Do not do it alone. It is one of those things where it is a formal medical disorder that needs the attention of a specialist.
Yeah.
Okay. If you break your leg, you don't say, I'm tough enough, I can do it on my own.
Yeah.
If the bone's sticking out of the skin, you don't say, I just wrap it up with some duct tape.
Yeah.
You go to a doctor.
Yeah.
Because a doctor has the tools that can to reset your leg. The same thing.
Well, and it's I literally was invited last weekend to do a men's retreat, and it was all surrounding knives, and they assigned me the topic of knives are sharp, so be careful, basically. Yeah. But I went at it from the idea of the most dangerous knife is a dull one.
That's right.
And I talked about ways to sharpen and basically be vulnerable. But like counseling was one of the things I talked about. And I'm like, men especially are like, oh, I can't go to counseling.
Yes. Because
there's a stigma if I go to counseling, I'm broken.
Right, right.
Well, I mean, if your water pump goes out, you don't have a problem hiring a mechanic to work on a thing, a specialist to work on something. But the problem is you're not a finite system, right, like a car.
Right.
If you send the car there, it's because something in the car is broken. You're not a finite system. Every person alive with the right counselor could be better.
That's right.
Because, the proverb about in a lack of wisdom, a nation falls, but in a multitude of counselors, there's safety.
That's right.
I mean, why would you not want to be better?
Well, and part of the modern American mind rests upon the assumption of hyper-individualism and that we can do everything ourselves.
I blame John Wayne. I reckon I pulled myself up by my bootstrap.
But we do. We have this radical individualism that says I must, not can, must do it on my own to prove who I am. I am not a man unless I do this on my own. I'm not a real man. But
12 apostles.
I mean, look, if you have Jesus, taking 3 men with him into the Garden of Gethsemane, to use your previous example, is Jesus not a real man? Are you going to say that?
I can't cry. I've so many times.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I can't. A man cannot cry. Okay.
Yeah.
If Jesus perfects humanity via the incarnation, if he is the best man could ever be, he cried
a lot.
He had friends always around him. Mm-hmm. In his vulnerable moments, he had people with him. Are you prepared to say that Jesus wasn't a real man?
Yeah.
Sit with that uncomfortable thought. Because look, if Jesus could do it, why can't I do it?
Yeah.
Why can't I ask for help? Why can't it says that's the thing is don't take this radical individualistic approach. You are part of a bigger picture. You are part of a friend group. You're a part of a family group. You are part of a society. Okay? We are a community.
Yeah.
Community.
Well, when God said, we think about Adam and Eve and, it's not good for man to be alone. And we put that in the context maybe of marriage because man's going to be a slob, but he's not going to pick up his socks. And it's not that. I mean, yes, God created this marriage relationship, but the reason why he did that is because we are designed for community, like you say. Your brain registers physical pain, emotional pain in the same spot.
That's correct. Why
is that? Because one is as dangerous to you as the other is.
That's correct.
And
if you I won't get off into the philosophical weeds here, but even look at God's nature himself. Mm-hmm. Okay. We believe in one God in 3 persons. Mm-hmm. So even God as a Trinitarian being, okay, himself has a social component.
Yeah. Let us create man in our own image.
Yeah, right. Not necessarily even a social Trinitarianism, but just even in a monarchical view, there's still a multiplicity of persons there interacting.
Yeah.
So it's okay. You don't have to be alone.
Yeah.
And if you're a man listening to this, if you're women tend to be a little more open with their emotions, but if you're a man, that's my perspective how I can speak as a man. Break out of that. Well, I'm a man. I can do this by myself. I'll buy the book. I'll read it, and I'll be better. I will do it.
Yeah, and I think
maybe not.
Okay, I don't want to make a big, broad, sweeping statement and make half the internet mad at me, but women, you made a statement that women share their emotions more easily. And, I think there's less barrier to entry maybe for communicating, talking. But I don't think maybe men have as many deep friendships, relationships. But I think when men do that and do it the way, God designed us to, I don't know that we don't have deeper ones.
Maybe.
I mean, it's kind of like, how do you compare that? But
right.
Men will get shoulder to shoulder. I heard so many stories like where, truck drivers get on, they're working, they're doing their thing, but they'll get on the radio and they'll tell somebody the stuff they'll never tell anybody else.
Right.
Right. Or,
right.
like, I had a guy the other day was, had a military experience and was involved with this family member. And, the first time he went and met this person, they knew that he was, and basically they sat down and vomited their life story to him.
Right.
Because he had a military background. None of the rest of his family did.
Right.
And, it's not that men don't have feelings or they don't want to share. Maybe they're more hesitant about who they share with.
True.
But when they share,
right.
When they share, there's a bond there that's
right.
like,
right.
You can't hardly tear it apart.
That's right. Yeah. So it's finding the right people. It's staying in touch with groups. I mean, of course, as a Christian, I'd say linking up with a good church family. Mm-hmm.
And I think it's one of the things, even me and you have done is, and I don't know that we set out to do this, but like, if I'm not okay, you walk in on Sunday morning, you look at me and you don't ask me, are you okay? You ask me what's wrong. Mm-hmm. And I can look at you and I know when Chandler's just tired versus, something's wrong.
Right.
And you don't get that way by just grunting at each other as you pass by.
Right.
There has to be a relationship there. There has to be some level of vulnerability. There's,
correct.
There's been times on Sunday morning, like I've been ready to just light her on fire,
Yeah.
And Chandler's like, no, we're going to get through this.
Yeah. Yeah. It's definitely finding a close group of friends, church family, somebody that you trust, that you can open up to, someone with wisdom that you can find comfort in.
And that word wisdom doesn't necessarily always have to mean older.
No,
I think
it does not.
There's wisdom. Everybody needs a Paul and everybody needs a Timothy.
That's right.
And what I mean by that is you need somebody older than you helping you. You need somebody younger that you're helping.
That's right.
Both of those things are.
That's right. That's right. Yeah, wisdom can be had at all ages, if you're wise enough to see it.
Yeah.
So, do you any more questions? Pick my brain on anything else?
I don't know. Is there anything we haven't really covered? I don't know.
I think we're good. I mean, there's nothing I can think of. Again, if I could tell anyone about OCD, a few of the things that I would say is that we're just going to reiterate this. It's not a joke.
No.
And if you can, please, if you're listening to this, no one's going to hold it against you, but in the future, please stop making it a joke. It's not a joke. It's really horrible. Okay. It's really horrible. It's not a joke. So keep that.
Just because you can't understand it
Right.
doesn't mean it's not real.
Right. And, it's the whole like, well, I'm so OCD. We said that in the beginning of the podcast, but that just try not to say that. Understand that those of us who have suffered with this, it has often been lifelong. It's debilitating. But there's hope. And that's what I want to get across is that as bad as this is, and this is talking to those individuals with OCD, there's hope.
Yeah.
There are great resources out there, whether that be, services like No OCD that I used, or even just your private counselor or private therapist. There's tons of people out there with experience. This is not a rare thing.
Right.
It is common. It is much more common than people think. People just don't want to talk about it. They think they're the only one. This is common. Find somebody to talk to. Don't be afraid to reach out. Don't be afraid of medication. And
if you try the first counselor and they're not the fit, find another one.
Find another one.
I mean, I've had 2 therapists, and the first one was a great guy. Love him to death. But, we got to a point to where basically I knew and he knew and admitted as much that, like, you're going to need some more help.
That's right.
And, I mean, that's great. Like, because, it would not done him or me any good to just keep on being like, oh, yeah, let me just sit there and Google it real quick. Like.
Oh, I remember going to one, and, I mean, awesome lady. Awesome human being. Went and talked to her, had one setting, sit in with her. Well, I had talked to her before briefly, but then we had a meeting in her office. And of course, at this point, I had been going through it for a while. So I'm done at this point. Like
right.
This something's got to happen, right? Something has to move here, and I dump it all out.
Yeah.
And I mean, her eyes. I mean, she is just like, what, And I think it's because she had mostly done probably more like family therapy and
not her wheelhouse.
No, not at all. So she was but she was very respectful, very cordial.
Yeah.
But you could tell that she just
was out of her comfort zone.
Right. So, but then again, don't stop. Don't give up on therapy. Just like you did. I didn't say, all right, I'm done. Never going to another therapist because this person couldn't help me. I'm unhelpable. It was, okay, I got to keep trying something. Yeah. And I found somebody, and I told them my story, and they're like, this was through an OCD, but I told them everything, and they're like,
yep,
I understand. Not in the way that they had it themselves, but and they weren't trying to they didn't validate my thoughts.
You could feel immediately they were not out of their depth.
They knew the correct questions to ask, all of it.
Right.
So that's why, whether you're going through OCD or trauma or anxiety, or whether you've got family issues, it doesn't matter.
There's somebody out there.
There's somebody out there, and it usually, if you put in a little effort, it does not take long to find.
It's, Psychology Today that does all the listings.
Has a full,
You can search for specialties, and it's out there. You want to find it, it's out there.
Yeah, and even don't be afraid to reach out. I'm sure therapists would be willing to help you connect to another therapist.
Oh, yes. I was about to say, there's a lot of them where they know.
Yes.
They know who knows what.
Yes.
And even, a lot of times the title doesn't even matter because, the therapist that we have come, well, Jamie, her official title is licensed marriage and family therapist, but now she does trauma.
Right.
I mean, she's good at it. And so, I mean, the official, the name doesn't always, or the specific title doesn't mean anything because counselors have to have X number of continual learning credits.
Cross-trained in a bunch of stuff.
They're learning and growing like
That's
everybody else is. So, like, just because, A, B, C, D, E, F, G on their title doesn't necessarily mean anything.
But I mean, she knows people. Mm-hmm. When she has her continued education, she knows her educators, and they know people. Mm-hmm. Or even less than this. Talk to your. If you don't feel comfortable talking to a therapist, talk to your primary care physician.
Yeah.
Talk to your doctor.
Get somebody
and say, look, here's what's going on, and your doctor may prescribe you some medication to help you adjust your brain chemistry or regulate your moods. But in the meantime, they may point you in a direction.
Yeah.
And say, okay, look, I'm going to help you with the physical side of it, with the medicine side, just to maybe help.
Well,
but look, here, I want you to reach out to these people. Or, hey, what are some good resources for mental health?
Yeah. I mean, you've got to advocate. You've got to advocate and fight for yourself.
That's right.
And more so than, if you've got diabetes or you've got, high blood pressure, the doctor is pretty much the expert. I mean, he pretty much has got a handful of options, and he can do, if you'll do what he says, he can fix it.
Yeah.
But the mental health stuff is different. Yeah. Like, you've got to give them feedback. It's kind of like the old Days of Thunder, where what's the car doing? Well, I don't know. Right. You got to tell them this works, this doesn't work. Right, this is, because without that feedback, they're guessing. They're guessing with the feedback, but they're really guessing without it.
That's right. Yeah, I'll give a personal example here. I don't think she would mind me telling this, but my wife was diagnosed last year. Year before last? Last year. Yeah, last year, the year before last. Formerly with lupus.
Yeah.
She has a chronic illness. She has lupus. And the way she got that diagnosis was because she felt bad. She felt horrible. Mm-hmm. And she was going to doctors, and she went to a doctor, and she wasn't
getting anywhere
answers. So she said, I want tests. I want to look at this. I want to look at this. And she found a doctor that was willing to do that. And then she said, look, I want to look at some different things because I want to be well.
Right.
It's the thing. Do you want to be healed? It's like,
every time somebody comes, yeah.
Right. Do you want to be well? If you want to be well, you can have it.
You'll fight for it.
You may not, not everybody gets perfectly well, but let me put that out there. Not everybody is in recovery.
But without your own initiative, you're never going to get there.
You're never going to get there.
Get anywhere.
You're never going to have a chance.
Without your own initiative.
Without taking it by the horns and just,
And it's not saying you're never going to get help along the way, but you've got to have, it's like you talked about trying 3 different medicines. I've tried 4, 5, 6. For different things. Like, the ADHD, I took 2 and I found something that works great for me. But then there's been times where I've had to add on other stuff, and like some of it works and some of it works but has side effects.
Right.
And
that's right.
Anyway, but you got to advocate for yourself.
That's right. So, yeah. So anyway, don't make it a joke. Find resources. And it's doable. You'll make it through.
Yep. Thank you, my friend.
Yes, sir. Anytime.
Love you.
You too, bud.
Join us next time on Wounds, Wisdom, and the Word. See y'all.